So organizations have an inherent demand for mobility. We have creative staff who want solutions, and we have an inherent lack of ability and capacity today to meet that demand. And what we're seeing is that frustration is rising, and we've come up with a fun way of quantifying that. We call it the frustration factor formula. And it's simply the frustration factor is your demand minus your capability divided by time. And what we're seeing is that the plight of the CIO or the CTO or the IT department is a bit like the poor guy in this VW Beetle here. Now, I took this photograph outside Arrowtown about 20 years ago, and I still love it. And what it talks to here is, I see the CIO or the CTO being the guy in the vehicle with a line of sight to the road ahead. He knows where he wants to go, but there are some obstacles. And there are bleating users all around, demanding solutions and thinking they know what they want. And so clearly, there's some frustration. And what we're seeing happening in enterprises, mainly large enterprises, is that the users are taking matters into their own hands. And some are bypassing IT out of frustration. And they're going to market, and they're finding solutions from vendors. Some are going down the road and getting an app developed by a bunch of snowboarders they met last year. Some are signing up to a cloud-based storage solution because it's cheap and fast and easy. Some are doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things because they're creative and innovative. But it's not happening under adult supervision from IT. So what I'm going to talk about here today is a strategy to bring that back under the control of IT and put the CIO or the CTO and the IT department back in control of the mobility journey, of the mobility agenda. And I'll do that by outlining a three-phase journey where we develop a strategy, a user-centric strategy for the organization, then implement the core capabilities and building blocks we need, and then put the critical governance processes in place to manage supply and demand and make sure that IT controls that process and doing change management as well. So strategy, capability building, and governance processes. So a good place to start is a self-assessment. And we've got a tool here we call the 2020 model. It looks deceptively simple, but it's extremely powerful. And we can ask any organization 20 questions to figure out how well they're managing mobility today. So how good is your policy enforcement? How secure are your mobile assets? How secure is your information access and your documentation on mobile devices? How well are you onboarding and offboarding your users? How much visibility do your users have over their personal spend? How much reporting and insight do you get? What kind of support services do you provide? All that is measurable, and we can get a point in the vertical axis. The horizontal is what are we doing with mobility? On the left-hand side, we're just doing voice and text and a bit of email. And then if we start mobilizing our forms and providing access to back-end systems and data sources, providing role-specific apps for our people, perhaps doing mobile-optimized websites and apps and forms for our customers, and then right at the extreme, maybe you're really mature and you've opened up APIs for your partners to engage with you through mobile as a channel. We can plot any organization on this, big or small. And I've got an example of half a dozen here that we've worked with over the last year or so, ranging from mid-sized 600 people, a New Zealand manufacturing company, to a public health organization in Australia, 17,000. And what we're seeing here is there's some clustering. And we've got many of these organizations in the middle of the scale on efficiency, they're doing a reasonable job, but a big variance on how well they're leveraging mobility. And then if we look at where they want to go and what's their multi-year, multi-phase strategy. But for a mature organization, we see a trajectory is something like this. This is a real case. So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, over maybe 3 years to get to the top right-hand corner of that grid. Less mature organization looks like this, starting from a base position and heading to the top right. What's interesting is the trajectory, and we see many organizations have a similar trajectory, where they want to improve efficiency for staff and then improve effectiveness in that order. But there are some who differ, and we see a smaller number of organizations going this way. And they're typically organizations who believe in mobile first, and they want to put their customers' mobility agenda ahead of internal staff mobility agenda. And this is where we see scenarios where the CMO might have a $5 million budget to develop mobile as a channel to serve customers, but the CIO struggles to get 50 grand for an internal development project. And these are banks, airlines, supermarkets, large B2C organizations who realize that mobile is the future channel and point of engagement for their customers. But the vast majority of you will probably have a trajectory something like this. So what I'm going to talk about is how to get there. And a wise man once said, in order to go fast, it's best to go slow first and do the planning and get it right. So I'm going to start with the strategy.